WWE have marketed 2018 as the year of progression in the women's division, and in some ways it has been. With inaugural female stipulations and the Mae Young Classic celebrating women's wrestling, and of course Evolution, WWE deserves some credit for their efforts. But in the year of two successful women's Money in the Bank cash-ins, two shows have been promoted in a country where women cannot compete by law. My point being, WWE seem to promote women's wrestling when they want to. The Mae Young Classic features some of the most decorated talent from around the world, but who are the two most valued women in the WWE brand today? Two former models found on Diva Search who have their own reality TV program. So actually, how much of a women's revolution is happening in WWE? I'm Sunny T, and this is my proposal for a universal women's wrestling equality evaluation similar to the Bechdel test. For those of you not familiar, the Bechdel test was popularised by Alison Bechdel in her comic strip The Rule, where a film must fit specific criteria to pass. The criteria are as follows: the film must have two named female characters, they must speak to each other, and the conversation must be about something other than a man. It sounds simple, but it's surprising how many films failed this female representation analysis. The test cannot directly be used to assess female presence on wrestling shows, not without some amendments. So the first rule, have more than one named character, isn't really compatible on pro wrestling shows, so I'd modify it so not only does there have to be more than one woman in a match, the women's match cannot be the shortest on the show. This prevents women's segments that are treated as attractions passing the test. I'd modify the rule that women have to talk about something other than a man. A man cannot be the focal point of the match. But there is a greater problem in WWE's kayfabe, and that is that every single female wrestler seems to be friends rather than competitors. Not only would I say men shouldn't factor into women's storylines, friendship shouldn't be the focal point of a rivalry. So, rule number 1, there has to be a female wrestling presence on the show. Rule number 2, a women's match cannot be the shortest on the show. And rule number 3, neither friendship or men can be the driving factors in any of the show's women's matches. Like the original Bechdel test, this set of criteria seems easily attainable, but let's see for ourselves. Hell in a Cell 2018 fails the wrestling Bechdel test. Despite a considerable female presence, Rousey vs Bliss was the shortest match on the main card. SummerSlam depends on how you view the Becky-Charlotte rivalry, but Extreme Rules, Money in the Bank, Backlash, Fastlane, Elimination Chamber, and even WrestleMania aren't so disputed. In fact, the only WWE special this year that would pass the wrestling Bechdel test would be the Royal Rumble. Try it for yourself now on your favourite wrestling show. I personally find it surprising which shows fail, like I would have expected NXT events to pass given their positive representation of female athletes. However, every women's match on an NXT TakeOver card this year has been the shortest bout of the night, with the exception of New Orleans. Like the original test, the results of this quick assessment do not entirely decide whether a show represents women well, but can give an immediate indication of how much of a female presence there is at any given event. I'm Sunny T, and that was my proposal for a wrestling Bechdel test.